Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mother Effing Ethers podcast. If you didn't go ahead and see our previous video, Welcome to the Ethers, highly recommend you go check that out so you can get to know me and David Banks here a little bit better. In the last video, we kind of did some intro questions and we let the people know that David is an astrologer and I'm a tarot reader, obviously. And we're going to go in today, and we thought it would be important to just dive into the misconceptions around astrology and tarots. And that way we can give our point of view just as a general baseline, because majority of our content is going to be tarot and astrology based and kind of reading the energies and telling the astrology, all the good things. So I'm going to go ahead because I'm dying to know what the astrology misconceptions are because I'm a little clueless when it comes to a lot of astrology. So we're all going to learn together, and then I'll dive into the tarot misconceptions. So take it away, babe.
Gotcha. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Of course.
Um, well, everyone, I'd say like maybe 85% of people that don't do astrology always have this misconception of like, um, oh yeah, if you're a Taurus, you do this, or if you're a Gemini, you always two-faced. I mean, to an extent, that may be true, but not
I've heard it.
two-faced.
I've heard it that way, like it just being a one all, that's it, because you're this.
Nah, facts. And it's like, yeah, you're right, but not the way you think. And there's other ones too, like some astrologers don't believe in cusps or anything. And I'm like, you have to have cusps because without that, you won't have degrees. And without that, you won't have decons. So there's a lot that can go into it. It's just, we can't just base our relationships and friendships just by the sun sign alone. So
I definitely, that makes sense to me, but I think that that's what majority of people know, because when you're even talking about like cusps and degrees, for someone like me who has always just been like, oh, I know my sun, moon, and rising, you know what I mean? Like that's such a deep level of, I don't even know, kind of thing that most people just don't know. So I think it's important to like let the people know that there's obviously more of a expanding energy when it comes to astrology and how much information you can get in addition to just your, big six or whatever, if you will.
I can't tell you how many times when I do people's like natal charts and stuff, how appalled they are. Like, wow, it's like you know me or something. It's like, nah, this you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know you. This is you. So,
You're learning you.
you know what I'm saying? And I just love those confirmations. It helps me keep going with the natal readings that I'm on something right. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely helping people discover more about themselves through those types of readings, which I feel like for people, you know, who have a gift or who end up having a desire in this life to explore those types of things like tarot and astrology, it's for the greater good to kind of be that mirror for people who want to learn more about themselves but might not know where to start or how to do it themselves. So they seek outside people to be like, tell me about me because I don't know. You know what I mean? And like that's usually the energy of the people I feel like who kind of come to people like you and me, where like I feel lost in the sauce. I'm unclear. I'm constantly like, I don't know what's going on. Can you give me insight? And so I feel like that's very much, because even if, I put my birth chart, in Astrology Cafe or whatever, and I've read it, but there's nothing like going to someone who's done the work to understand it. Like when you started to read me kind of for the first time, I was like, oh shit. I didn't even like I maybe read that, but like you explaining why because of the planets and the placements and the degrees and everything like that, it helps give such a better understanding overall. And the people got to know that there's more to it than just what society generally says.
Yeah. And shit, I'm gonna kick it off. So basically, I'm gonna start with the degrees because that's the more important thing to look at when you're actually looking at a natal chart. Depends on what app people use. Usually, you got the box where it has your planets, and then the other box it has your signs, and then on the sides, it'll either have the houses, and some apps have the degrees. But all of the degrees is just really saying how close you are from your neighboring sign. Like for me, for example, right? If I'm 2 degrees Gemini, I'm still a Gemini, but I still have like traits of a Taurus, right? Because the lower the number, the more on one side that you are to the neighboring sign, and that's what makes you a
Oh,
cusp,
so
right?
you're 2 degrees close to a Taurus, essentially.
Right.
Oh.
So the degrees 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the left side of the sign that you're next to, right? So in
Mm.
your case, if you were born on a cusp day, right? Generally people that are born within like the first 5 days of the new transition, their degrees are smaller, right? Because
Mm.
you're starting a new transition. So for
Mm.
example, um, let's say you were born May 21st, right? uh, uh, Basically, you would be a cusp of Gemini and Taurus, which is what? Earth and air. You got to
Mm.
combine those elements too. People want to leave those elements out, like the steam sign, the the lava sign, the cloud sign, and the dust sign. But I'll get to that in another
Yeah, that
stream.
was news to me.
But basically, that's all the degrees is really saying. It's not really that intricate. Now, you can have cusps within your house too. You know, like if you have a lower degree in a sign, that means it's, or a higher degree, which would be 25, 26. No, sorry, 24, 25, 26, 27. No, 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 my bad. I went too high. 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. The last 5 degrees, right?
Okay, that's good to know, like what the range is, because I'm also thinking, because I feel like I've seen, and maybe I'm wrong, it will say like 5 degrees and then like almost uh something and then like a 20 degree. Like sometimes they're combined. Does that mean it's this percent this way and this percent this way? Or is it usually just one number for the degrees?
It's usually one number.
Oh, okay.
That
Then I
second
don't know
number
what
on
I'm
the
thinking of.
that second number on the side, I really don't know why some people use that degree, but it's usually the first degree. Because I know what you're talking about.
Mm.
People will be like, "Oh, I'm 8 degrees," and then it has the 21 or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. And I think that's why I was always so confused because I'm like, I don't know. I'm thinking it's like on I forget what it's called when you're like the points like on the map or whatever, you
What,
know?
longitude, latitude,
Yeah, like like how it shows, but there's a word for
the axis?
yeah, like the intersecting of that. So I was looking
Yeah,
at it like that and I was like, oh, that's beyond me. I don't
yeah.
know.
And basically, that's all the degrees is.
So it
How
helps just kind of
far?
clarify like how much of a sign you really are, so to speak,
Right,
if you're in between.
right.
Okay, okay. I follow. Huh.
And then like when it comes to like things like the cusps, right?
Hmm.
Um, Basically, uh, a lot of astrologers don't think these elements exist, but it has to because it's like for me, for example, I am a cusp, so I am a dust sign, and any combination within the zodiacs, if they are a cusp and they have a earth and air element, for example, Capricorn Aquarius combo, or you got the Virgo Libra combo, those are the other dust signs too,
Hmm.
but they operate a little bit differently depending on how much of the degrees you have, right?
Hmm.
So basically, a dust sign is someone that's practical and rational. Like they could be more understanding, but they still stand on business, right? It's a combination of the
Hmm.
two when it comes to the Taurus Gemini cusp. And then for Virgo and Libra, it's more like they try to relate to you only if you're a hard worker, right? So
Hmm.
if they see you being a person that's really on top of their stuff, they'll give you things that will amplify you, right? It's like that
Hmm.
helper energy, right? But only if you help yourself. A lot of those does sign is kind of pristine on that. And then Aquarius, Capricorn, they're more like they act like a tyrant a little bit, like low key emperor empress energy, but like dictator a little bit.
Not me wearing my Empress earrings today.
But it's not like the good version. It could be, but it depends on how they move around. Because remember, Aquarius is about how much of an individual you are and how unique you look and how you look within your friend group. But since
Mm.
Capricorn thinks about like how they look within like a hierarchy, it's a little different. They can become a little dictator a little bit. Like I'm gonna just rule with an iron fist amongst my
Yeah,
friends. Like,
like I'm the shit, I know everything type.
exactly. Or they could be a shaman type of person where it's like, oh well, I'm cool, I'm chilling. You know, if you need advice, come to me. I don't think I'm better than anyone, but
I
I
know I'm not on a cusp. I know I'm pretty in the midst of the Capricorn, but I wonder, oh, you know what? I do think I have a good amount of Aquarius in my chart. So that
yeah,
still might
you
explain some
have
things.
your Mercury, I believe I looked, it's in Aquarius, I think.
I think I have four planets in Aquarius.
Yeah. No, your Mercury's in Sag, sorry. But yeah, you do have 4% Aquarius somewhere. I remember looking.
Mm,
But yeah, that's the dust sign. And then the
nice.
lava sign, can you guess what two elements is that?
Fire and water.
Earth.
Oh, duh. That makes sense.
All
Fire and
right.
water just cancel each other. Well, wait, then what's fire and water?
Steam.
Steam. This is why you're teaching these things and not me.
Nah, please ask because hey, it's good to, learn,
I know.
That's how you
I
learn.
stand by the fact that I feel like I am representing the collective who is so clueless. Like I think it worked out very well that for someone who's a tarot reader, who I think many people assume that you kind of know both if you're a tarot reader, but I don't think people assume that people who know astrology would know tarot. I think it's more of an assumption for tarot readers to know that both. And like I really have no clue. So I think that that worked out on purpose for this podcast because now I get to be like, huh? Like, what do you mean? Like most other people at home, like, can you clarify, please? Because I don't know. So it might worked out. It might have worked out the fact that I'm kind of, I don't know, because I think I represent the majority of people who are at home looking at this crazy complex chart, being like, I'm just gonna go to my sun and moon.
And that's all right, because mainly people, you don't have to learn it, but that's why people go to astrologers in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah,
But the lava sign, that archetype is basically someone that's kind of destructive a little bit, you know what
I
I'm
could see
saying?
that. Sure.
But it could be good or bad. Those type of people typically, you know, they it depends, right? Because let's say I'm a Leo Virgo lava cusp, right? I could be someone that wants to be seen as a hard worker.
I was gonna say
I
that feels like a very intense combo of a
it can be depending on that person.
yeah.
You could be the type of person to either be like, "Hey, you see me for my hard work," or they beg for it.
Mm,
They could be too lovey and then like
too lobby.
spew and spew on the other people and be like, "Oh well, yeah, you should have seen that thing I did, that thing I built or whatever," and then that person doesn't really give a crap.
What a way to like call someone's ass out though if you're like because like if you know someone's like then you're being like you're being real lobby right now.
Like you gotta chill, my dude. And then the Sagittarius Capricorn, those are the more intense ones because there's an unspoken battle between those two signs for some weird reason. They don't like each other for real.
Hmm.
But they're not opposites though. And that energy, that's the warlord kind of energy, and not in the way of an Aries, because they kind of go out their way to stamp their mark in the world.
Okay.
Um, those type of people, those are the type of people probably in a friend group that is kind of like the athlete of the group or the jock or someone that wants to be seen in a way where they're dominant. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Hmm.
Um, Pretty much. Or if we're talking about like status wise, that's the person that everyone hates. Like they probably look good and glamorous, but it's like, nah, this dude's an asshole.
It gives
Uh,
me head bitch in charge energy.
right. But it's kind of like they play life as chess, you know what I'm saying? Like they have a chess mentality at
Strategic
most of the
AF.
times.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be Aries and Taurus. They're athletic too, but they're too dominant though. Like
Mm.
they don't care who it is. Like those are the people that act like Hercules a little bit. Like they
You're
don't care
going
how
down.
exactly. So it's like they don't really care who's in front of them. They are good
Uh,
team players, though. Like those cusps are good friends. They'll have your back.
mm,
They are
loyal.
the definition of
Mm,
let's beat their ass and ask questions later type shit. um, but yeah,
okay. I think that helps give everyone an understanding of the level of depth, especially because I don't think that anyone, generally speaking, I feel like most people do identify with mostly the sun sign or they know their sun sign. So if they want to understand it on a deeper level and understand themselves on a deeper level, noticing if you're on a cusp, like if you're, a dust sign or a lava sign, I think that all helps give clarity as to maybe what you resonate with from that particular thing and what you might want to change about yourself to the best of your ability. Some of these more are more core traits, but you're if you know it, you can be mindful and aware of it, and it can help you move through the world. I imagine a bit easier to know yourself like that, maybe a little bit more.
facts. Yeah.
Yeah, real
You want me
shit.
to go do? You want me to do the other two or no?
Yeah, no, I'm in now, so you might as well
All right.
just keep it flowing.
All right. So the steam sign is what you said, the fire and the water.
Mm.
And basically, those signs they act like it's like the great value version of a Pisces energy, where it's like you kind of don't know what's going on, but it's like, oh yeah, they do, right? And it's
The
like
great value version is crazy.
it's like when you because the Pisces energy is like people can't understand you, but the steam energy it's like they don't even see you. Like fuck a mask. I got like a whole bubble coat around my like you can't see nothing about this
Hmm,
person.
interesting.
Um, so an example would be the Pisces Aries energy. Shout out to my mom. Her birthday was a couple weeks ago. She's a steam sign. For years, I could never like connect with her on a level of like understanding her. But then when I got into astrology, I was like, damn, I got to approach this a
You're
different
you're
way.
you're like, where how can I read you?
You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm in the ocean and shit. And it's like, you know how there's a fog in the ocean and the boat comes out of nowhere? That was what my mom was like, oh, now I see you. So it took some time to actually understand where a lot of things was
Mm,
coming from. And that type of energy is more like, you know, it's really intense when it comes to like people trying to understand a person as an individual. They really got to know them. They have to get to know them a lot, and that may take a long time because they have to first open up, and then they got to open up again because it may be traumatic too. So that steam sign's kind of difficult to be friends with, but once you do, they're loyal. And then you got the Cancer Leo. Now this is the most emotional combination,
I
right?
can
Because
I can see that.
you got the moon and the sun. So it creates an eclipse energy where it's like they can
Mm,
flip flop too much. Like one day they could be on top of the world and there'll be a Eeyore down in the dumps the next day. So it's kind of like
damn.
they're super moody. It's kind of like you got to watch for them and tend to them
Mm,
sometimes. And it gives walking on eggshell energy. You don't want to,
mm.
be around them for that long if they're going to display that. But for
Yeah,
the most part,
it's hard to manage the roller coaster of emotions, especially if you're someone like who's opposite in their sign or their cusp, and you're like, what's going on, bruh? Like what
it's
what?
like he
You
was
even
just
know where you're at? Like,
probably not. Like they're battling internally, so I don't know. But for the most part, the positive side of that, you don't have to worry about them defaming your name
mm,
or make they don't make you look bad in public. They try their damnedest not to do that. And they'll make you look good too if you're their friend. If they're your enemy, it's like that's when they start campaigning. Those are the politicians of the zodiac sign besides Capricorn, but that certain cusp is the politician of the zodiac.
hmm.
Uh, and then you got the last one, Scorpio and Sag. Those are the most secretive. Um, like they're the kings and queens of super ghosting. Like you won't see them for years, and you'll be surprised how much they've changed. You'll be lucky if you're their friend. I'm surprised that they even have any. How much they're much alone.
Hmm.
Uh, they don't express themselves in a way where everyone else would. It takes a long time for them to open up for sure. Um, Yeah, but they do make great friends though. They'll probably check on you every what, 6 months, 6 years, who knows?
6 months
But
to 6 years is quite the gap.
yeah, I mean, you got to think Scorpio was like they dive deep, and
Mm.
then Sag they usually just travel, so it's kind of like they're not here
We'll see you
eternally
when you
or
see
eternally.
type. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
like yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. But they do make good friends. Like once you do reunite with them, they give you that energy of like pick up where we left off. Like you won't feel
Mm.
some type of way if they do ghost you because probably in a previous conversation or situation, you were probably like, oh, maybe you need to, work on yourself. But they take that to the fullest degree. Like you got it. I'm gonna do this within
Mm.
5 years. I ain't yeah. So
You will see me when I'm healed.
like super healed. So I respect that cusp sign. So yeah.
Yeah, good to
And then you
know.
got the last one, the cloud signs. Now these are the hippies of the cusp, right? Because not only ironically their mind is in the clouds, their body is too. Like sometimes they don't even think they're there, like
Hmm.
it's kind of wild, right? And that's the water and air combination.
Is that like Enigma energy?
A little bit, but more of like, damn, what's dude's name? I forgot, but anyway, it's a character that he's barely there. Like he's
Mm.
not there at all. Like when he's with his friends, he's talking about a whole different thing.
Hmm.
And this combination would be like Aquarius, Pisces.
Mm.
Now they can be there as a friend, but don't they may be absent-minded. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
Like they're there in the physical, but
But they're not there.
they're like, oh shit, what? Oh yeah, 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 for sure. That and they're really emotionally intelligent. This cusp is, yeah, I forgot to say that they're really emotionally intelligent, but it depends on the cusp though, because this was the least emotionally intelligent because they're thinking about other things but you or
Nah, I
whoever.
can't listen. I'm someone, don't be in la la land while we're sitting here. I'ma leave. I'm not talking to you. What's the point? You're not here, you're not present, you're in your cloud energy. I'm gonna be like, I'm just talking to myself, I guess. I might as well just get a fucking journal because
Pretty much because you're not helpful. And then but on the flip side, they'll be there like to actually like when they stop being in the clouds, they'll be grounded because then it'll be more fog energy where it's like it's light, settling, it gives a little comfortability a little bit instead of just
mm,
all in the clouds because you're not gonna see them as much. So when they give you that fog energy when they're more close to the ground with you, then it's like, okay, I'm chilling, I'm chilling. All right. So they can actually listen to you. But most of the time, good luck. And then you got the Gemini Cancer energy. These are the ones, unfortunately, this is where the two-faced shit comes from,
I was gonna
right?
say before you even said that, something in me was like, why does this combination scare me, Loki?
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't, but this is why Geminis get a bad rap because of this cusp or this energy by itself. Because they do see both perspectives of both parties or the multiple parties, but they do it in a way where it's like it's gossipy, right?
Yeah, it's like switch up energy. Just
Right. It
okay.
because they try to embody the person that they're dealing with to relate to them, but they don't mean to look like they're switching up. Because it's like, okay, I want to really understand what this person's coming from. Because they
Oh,
can't.
so it's like mirroring, but then you're around someone else and they're mirroring, and it's like, okay, well, like, who are you actually agreeing with here?
Right. Because
Okay.
with that cancer energy, they're actually trying to feel you, but then they're mimicking you too. Because it's like, okay, whose side are you really on? You know what I'm saying? So that's where the two-faced stuff comes from,
Mm,
unfortunately. But a lot of Geminis don't mean harm. Some probably do.
mm,
It just depends because it is that gossipy energy. But that combination is the most emotionally intelligent in the cusps because
interesting.
they actually understand intellectually, emotionally, right? And then you got the last one, which is Libra and Scorpio. This is the most devious combination, right? Because not only they try to relate to you, it's kind of like investigator energy. Like they trying to get intel on you, right? Some of them try to like copy you low key, like that movie Bridesmaids. What is it?
Yeah, yeah, that's the one you watched the other day.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
like basically the Helen chick. she tried to actually take her spot. That's what they do. They'll do so much to one up you. And some Libra, Scorpio cusps, they don't realize they're doing it right because they're trying to relate, but they think that's their version of bettering themselves. I'm like, no, you're trying to be me. How are you bettering you? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if there's a good side to that. Unless you send them on a scouting mission, I guess, to get intel on your enemy. But other than that, I have no idea. Because the Libra, Scorpio cusp I deal with, they've always displayed that energy.
That's interesting. I think that when people are, because it's not as like, it's kind of deceptive, but even if
Yeah.
it's unintentional, deception is deception because you're doing something that either you don't want other people to know that you're doing, right? So you're not standing by your actions and you're being like mischievous, but not in the way that's like playful, but in a way that's like you being sus. Like something's up with you right now. And I think that like if people feel the call to do that, it's interesting because like where in your ego does that play a role maybe too? You know what I mean? It's
True.
interesting because I think that like that energy can exist in anybody, not just them. But it's like if you in your free will still choose to follow that, even if you know that it doesn't help you or the people around you in any way, it's like, okay, well, it gives everyone else the contrast. I'm not like that. So maybe that's the greater good is that it helps other people realize that they're not like that and they choose not to be like that because it doesn't feel good to do things like that, maybe.
And then I guess the positive side would be they're really sincere and understanding though, when you do try to relate to them. But some of them could be like, maybe I'm just trying to get the info to one up you in some type of way. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Fascinating. That was a fabulous deep dive into things that I definitely didn't know about that I think other people are going to be like, am I a cusp? Like Googling real fast after this video.
Yeah, like make sure you guys do look that up. Like seriously, it depends on what day you were born, and then you got it.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good to me. Is that really, you feel like the most important misconceptions around astrology is having to do with all of that?
What with the cusps and degrees?
Yeah, just the level of like assuming that you're not just more than one thing.
Absolutely, because everyone only knows the sun sign. Obviously, no one's gonna be like on their first date. Oh yeah, I'm a Venus Cancer. I don't know what that means. So typically, people just do the big three as a starting point.
People who date like you and I would probably say some shit like that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, my Gemini's in the 12th house, and it's in the moon, which is yours.
Crazy. I needed this man to memorize my chart, guys, because I couldn't.
And it's part of my job. Like anyone that I have a connection with or someone that I've done work with in the past, I
Yeah.
automatically kind of know 80% of their charts. It's kind of uncanny. It's
No, it's helpful because I feel like if I'm venting about something or I'm like, I don't understand why this is happening, you're like, I know it's this. And I'm like, hey, thank you so much.
facts.
At least I have an understanding now. But yeah, that's pretty good. I think that the tarot misconceptions that I have are not as deep of a level. I think eventually in a couple episodes I'll deep dive into like all the cards' meanings and how maybe
Ooh, I'm
in
definitely writing that down.
yeah, like it I think that like more so the ones that are not as self-explanatory because I think that if you guys want a master class one day where I go through all 78 mother effing cards, I will do that. But I think that
Woohoo!
in a podcast episode, that's really going to be overwhelming. Maybe we split it
Yeah.
up. Maybe there's like a major arcana episode, a minor arcana episode. Maybe we do like, the page knights, kings and queens, like another day. We can compartmentalize it a little bit. But I feel like the misconceptions that I'm about to hop into about tarot are more about tarot as a whole and what I think people are afraid of when they see tarot readers. So we can dive a little bit into that. Now
Hmm.
we are going to dive into the misconceptions about tarot. Shout out to Mr. Banks over there for doing a phenomenal job giving us so much astrology and deep diving into all the misconceptions about astrology. I know I learned some stuff. I know y'all at home learned some shit. So now we're gonna shift gears a little bit into the tarot stuff. Um, being a psychic and all, most of my thoughts are in one ear and out the other in my head, flowing like this. So I'm going to use my phone as a reference guide for the notes that I took for this. So don't judge me. Okay. So we're going to hop right in. The first, I feel like most common, misconception around tarot is that tarot is evil. It's like witchy, dark magic, woo-woo, scary stuff, like I'm summoning these spirits and everything is coming down and I'm scaring the crap out of everyone. And we're all gonna, the candle flames are gonna flicker and the lights are gonna go out and it's gonna be this horrifying thing. It's nothing like that. I like to tell my clients when I have a reading, I'm not like the Wicked Witch. I'm like Glinda the Good Witch, in my sparkly little pink bubble floating down in all love and light, no harm, no foul type of thing. So that's
Hmm.
probably the most important thing I wanted to debunk, that tarot is not used to like summon spirits in this negative, scary way, but rather a tool for self-reflection, for growth, for developing your intuition, not for like controlling fate or tapping into anything really all that dark, most
Hmm.
importantly. The other thing that I feel like is probably the most common misconception is that tarot readers are essentially predicting the future, or reading fortunes like in their little crystal ball, like people who have the psychic senses don't need a crystal ball in order to do it. Another one that I had after this, which kind of relates, is that you don't even really have to be quote unquote psychic or have a gift in order to read tarot cards. You're able to kind of start at any point in your life. I didn't know about my clairsense psychic gifts until later on into my tarot journey, but I started like everyone else, kind of reading books that went with the cards and gave me explanations, and I really just used it as a way to learn more about myself and have a better understanding of like where I could think differently. And I remember reading things about certain cards being like, oh, this is encouraging me to like embrace change and transformation and feel better about myself as a person. These aren't things that I was used to thinking, So
Hmm.
that's really, I feel like, the motivation behind what I encourage people to do with tarot now is not to be afraid or to seek answers outside of yourself, but rather as a tool to learn to better trust yourself and love yourself and grow and evolve in that kind of way. And that there's no limitations on who can read tarot and who has the ability to kind of dive in deep into the card meanings. It's like any sort of skill you're developing. You can research and learn the traditional meanings, but as you become more of an intuitive reader, um, you can read for yourself and you can read for others. I think that sometimes another misconception is that people aren't able to read for themselves. I do have to say it can be harder to read for yourself as a reader because if your energy is not aligned and you're going to your cards or to spirit for guidance when you're feeling unclear, you need to feel clear in order to channel. So I'll notice if I'm having a very human moment where I'm stuck in my head and things like that, somehow I manifested Banks into my life and now he'll read for me with my own words, which is crazy, like for me to end up kind of like helping someone learn tarot and my ego interpreting it as like you're using it in my own teachings against me. You know what I mean? But like it really is such a blessing that I can, when I'm not feeling so clear, now I have someone who can bring me back to me and help deliver the messages when I'm struggling to do that for myself. But you can read for yourself. It's just sometimes it's a little skewed. Depends on the reader, I guess. But I find that I channel more clearly for other people than I do myself sometimes, which is a very interesting thing. Mostly because I think that you and your own bias want things to look a certain way if you're seeking a certain answer. But I don't have that bias when I'm reading for other people. But you can read for yourself. I mean, I read for myself for well over a year or two before I even started reading for other people, and I still did all the self-reflection work that came with that, and I grew as a person and evolved and developed my psychic gifts, gifts and all of that. Um, Another thing that I feel like kind of goes with that, and something that I kind of had a limiting belief about when I started reading tarot too, was that you have to kind of follow like strict rules or guidelines, or you have to be in a certain setting, or have certain things around you in order to read or read effectively. So I thought for a long time, like, you'd see a lot of people shuffle their cards and like knock on it a certain way or blow on it, or you have to have candles around you or crystals around you or incense around you, or you have to be in this dark room with the crystal ball, and it has to be like mystical looking. And I think that for a long time I realized, like, I thought I had to do a meditation before I read every single time. And I think that over time I realized that I grew as a reader when I was like, it didn't matter where I was, who I was with, what I was wearing, what was around me. Like, I was good to go at any point because spirit's always with me. It doesn't matter. I can do it. It doesn't matter literally any of the circumstance. It's nice if you have like a mystical environment, the same way, like if you're cleaning and you light a candle when you're done, it's nice not to have a little ambiance. You know what I mean? It's nice to like, I definitely set up my stuff in like a little aesthetic way. If I like to give people an experience. I'll have my little mat out and I'll have like my little love cards, and sometimes I'll put little crystals. It's nice to kind of make a vibe, but it's not necessary in order to read the cards. And I think that's the more important thing to debunk there. Uh,
Hmm.
um, the more important aspect with it is your intention going into the
Exactly.
reading. Anything else? Um, those are kind of the generally speaking misconceptions that I thought of. The other ones that I have are more card specific. So I thought it would be a good idea to kind of debunk the more the quote unquote scary, misinterpreted cards. So I actually have them out here with me so you guys can see them nice and up close. The first one is the dun, 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 the death card.
Oh man. Fuck.
Which, literally, and that I feel like is 99.99999% of people's responses when they see this card in a reading is like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. You know what I mean? But it's not, guys. Everyone take a deep breath. You're not gonna like lose your whole life tomorrow, okay? This can symbolize multiple things. It also has a lot to do with what other cards are surrounding it in a reading, but by its lonesome, it means transformation. It means rebirth. It also can mean like ego death. There might be a belief about yourself that isn't serving you, that has to die in order to align with something that's more for you, that feels better. It's like, imagine in the seasons, like you have to have a dormant period in order for there to be regrowth. You know? It's like
Hmm.
a whole resurfacing that's sometimes very necessary. You gotta like, sometimes you gotta like lose yourself to find yourself type shit. You know what I mean?
Always.
Lose your mind and create a new one, which also kind of goes into the tarot card here. Also, scary AF seeing this. I think
Which
that
one is it for the
this
audience that can't see
this is the tarot. The tarot.
it?
This is where my head is at today, guys. The Tower card. And this card is also pretty scary. Um, when you're just looking at it, or if you hear someone say the tower, you're like, what does that mean? You think that everything's going to crash and burn around you, and it very much gives that energy. But
Mm.
again, it's one of those things where sometimes the best thing that can happen is allowing things in your life to fall apart because it actually makes room for things to fall together.
Mm.
You
Okay.
know, Sometimes you need the blank foundation in the rummage so you can sift and sort and dust it away so you can rebuild.
Mm.
So it actually serves you. This sudden change of what looks like, you know, your ego views it as, oh my God, my identity was tied up into this tower. And if this tower ceases to exist, who am I? And it's very much like, no, girl, like it needed to do this because you had to realize that you were strong enough to withhold the deconstruction of something that really wasn't even meant to be in your life anymore. So that way you had a whole fresh slate and you're able to start something new. So similarly, those cards are kind of the same in that energy. Um, it's more like that transformation energy, new beginnings. It's not just doom and gloom. It really is kind of designed to remind the person who's getting the reading that there's room for growth and that it's not as all as bad as it seems. There's like a illusion aspect to seeing these things happen, that it's kind of a necessary step in the journey, so to speak.
Hmm.
Um, Another card that's similar to that, that's also kind of not really interpreted very
Oh
well
no.
a lot, which seeing this card up close, this is the devil card, is really scary pants, like crazy USA. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, this is also the Capricorn card, by the way, which is very interesting. Do you like that I drew hearts over them?
I didn't even notice it. Nice. For the PGs.
Yeah, I want to make sure it's, user friendly, not too graphic. But meanwhile, it's like the whole devil, you know what I mean? But this card is pretty much along the same lines of the Tower and the Death card in terms of like illusions, but it more directly relates to toxic thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, um, things you're telling yourself, that intrusive voice that tells you that's like a fear, even that kind of guides you to do something that isn't in alignment with who you truly are. It's the not good feeling. It's very much like devil on the shoulder type energy. Um, Needing to release like unhealthy attachments to certain things. But it's not necessarily evil. It's just making you aware of some self-imposed limitations in some aspect of
Okay.
your life. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So for example, if in a reading this came out next to the Lovers card, okay, like up here, I would be like, you focus on a little too hard on either wanting somebody else, right, in your life. Like you're way too focused on trying to manifest something outside of you to make you happy, as
Hmm.
opposed to doing the inner work to feel happy on your own. Or it means like if the Lovers was in reverse and the devil came out, it could mean someone who you're very close with doesn't have the purest intentions, right? It depends on what other cards are coming out with it. Um, and I know that you've asked me this before, and I feel like another misconception is like, well, what do reversals mean?
Hmm.
And reversals aren't necessarily that, like, because let's say like there's a good card, so like that 10 of cups. If that 10 of cups is reversed in a reading, on its own really just means that there might be a lack of family joy and happiness and fulfillment, and love and togetherness, which is what it means upright. It just means that maybe that's not happening, or there's a delay in that happening. But if this is upright as the devil, right, and you know that this means like toxic attachment behaviors, if it automatically means it's bad when it's reversed, well, this could be perceived as bad. So it's reversed doesn't make it good. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I feel like sometimes when cards like this are reversed, it means that you've released the unhealthy attachment. It can be an indicator that you did what needed to be done regarding this energy, and transmuting it, if you will, in reference to something else. If the devil came out like this next to the Six of Swords, which is where my pinky is, this would tell me you reached a point in your life where you can move into calmer waters because you released the thoughts and beliefs or the people, places, and things that were holding you back from your highest good, and you're moving away
Hmm.
from this energy, right? If it comes up next to the moon, which is right above it, right, then it kind of means that maybe there are still some toxic. My light just flickered. Spirit be talking. That was crazy. Sorry. Um, if it's next to the moon, it could essentially mean that you may think that you did the work to release all of the toxic behaviors and things that were kind of limiting you, but there's some in your subconscious that are still lingering behind the scenes in your shadow. So be aware that they might show up in different aspects of your life, and maybe that there's more work to do, right? So there's context in what it comes out with. It's not a solid upright is good, reversal is bad. It really kind of depends on what it comes out with and what the channeled message is, really, because a lot of these cards, I think readers will take at face value and read those traditional meanings. I said this to you when you got that deck that has the definitions on there. Some of the words used to describe these cards,
Extreme as hell.
so out of pocket and not necessarily accurate in my opinion. I'm someone who thought that I had to like study like word for word these meanings of these cards, but I learned to read much more intuitively. If you're someone who does really well with imagery, you can really look at the cards. The numbers have meanings, the colors have meanings. There's so many different ways to interpret tarot cards. It just depends on the person and what feels good to you.
I'm glad you
Um,
said that.
yeah, you know what I mean? There's no one size fits all way of doing tarot. I think it's such an individual journey, and I had such an unconventional journey in my own way because I learned my dad is shouting hello. I'm so sorry. He distracted me. It's time to feed my dog, you guys. That's what's happening downstairs currently.
I don't think
Um,
that picked up anyways.
I know, but my attention went there, so I apologize because I'm like,
It's
what's happening?
all good.
Um, but yeah, essentially, it's not the one size fits all. Different strokes for different folks. It's whatever feels good for you, and you develop your intuition in your own way. I started by looking at traditional meanings of the cards, but I had this idea that I had to study it and like learn it absolutely the way it's taught. But like you'll see, if you get different variations of decks, the books tell they almost have their own personalities.
Yeah.
The root meanings are roughly the same, but
Mm.
by themselves compared to how they are with different cards tell a whole different story of the energy. So I think it's important to open yourself up to the source communication if you're really serious about tarot. Like you have to kind of do the meditation self-reflection work to like tap in to know what your intuition sounds like and what your non-physical senses like how they're showing up for you. If you're so in the physical realm, after you've done this shadow work to release it, you have to be open to the call. And if you're not going to be able to intuitively read per se. And you're kind of just going to be stuck to reading the cards how they are, which isn't a bad thing. But I found that it's much more rewarding to have my connection with spirit and channel these messages to help people in a much deeper way where I can read the energy of their mind and tell them things about them in their life that they don't even know and bring awareness to that and really help transform energy that way.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it helped a lot.
also, I got kind of intoxicated and did a reading a couple weeks ago. I was also wondering, does that even matter or no?
A typical Tuesday getting intoxicated. So funny. As someone who's definitely done some things, and done readings, I think it really depends on the person and your own ability to know your tolerance and what you're capable of. You might be able to say, "Oh yeah, like I'm good to walk 3 blocks drunk." I'd be like, "I'm not walking 3 blocks drunk." We got the same
Oh,
amount of drinks. Like I can't do that, but you might be able to. So I think it depends on the person and what your abilities are under the influence of any kind. Um, I found that for me, I might be a little more unhinged if I had a drink. I might not be as delicate in delivering a message. I might be like, yeah, so your mom did this, huh? Like, and be a little more blunt than I typically am, as opposed to being like, yeah, so I'm noticing that I'm getting this energy of a mother figure and in your past, like she might have been like this. I'm a little more, let's like work you towards it. But I think I'm a little more like, yeah, you got mommy issues, huh? If I'm like drunk,
damn.
you know what I mean? So I think I'm a little more unhinged. Now, I'm someone who developed my gifts and had such confidence in me at some point in time where it really kind of kicked in, where it didn't matter to me where I was, what I had in my body, who I was with, what environment I was in general. Like, I know that I can read. I have no limitations in my ability to receive messages. It's just that if you think that you might not be as clear to communicate, if you're slurring your words, you might not want to give a reading, it might not be the time. So I'd say listen to your intuition to know for sure, you know, that kind of thing, really, truly.
Okay.
But yeah,
All right. Makes sense to me. Shit,
yeah.
because when I did it, it still came out as to be very accurate anyway. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to, I just wanted to know just in case.
Yeah, I think that there are people like, and that's why I say like it's not me talking in the readings, it's spirit. Because sometimes I'll be tipsy, but I'll hear spirit loud and clear be like, now take your tarot cards out of your purse and give this person a reading right now. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I'm like, girl, I'm late right now. What you mean, spirit guide? Like, I'm not trying to. And they're like, no, you gotta. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, here we go, guys. We're here. We out here. So, I being a divine messenger in this way has been such a rewarding experience for numerous reasons. One, because I've seen people have such deep gratitude and appreciation for the love and insight and clarity that I give them, where
Mhm.
they're welling up. Like I've had strangers who I met literally 15 minutes ago give me like a tighter hug than people I've known in my close immediate life. That I
Damn.
I can't explain the level of like choked up like I've been with someone who I've never met and they're like thank you. Like oh my god, like heart glowing. Like I can't explain the level of fulfillment that I get from doing what I do. And I just thank spirit every time because I know it's not me. There's no way that I'm able to know some of these things about people in my physical body and my physical mind. There's something non physical, a universal intelligence. I have goosebumps that channels through me for people to help bring awareness to the dark parts of themselves that they're struggling with in order to bring this light to it and expose it and turn the subconscious conscious, and
Hmm.
bringing it into that awareness allows transformation to occur, and you continue to grow and evolve because we're growing and evolving forever in this life. It's just what direction are you evolving in?
Exactly.
So I think that like that's been a really phenomenal experience. And I've definitely had times where I'm like under certain influences and it's just like funny. It just like makes the experience a little different, I guess. But like I wouldn't encourage people to do it. Like, or like you don't have to be high to read. I think that some people are like, oh, I have to be like this hippy dippy, I gotta be smoking, in order to do it. Like, no, you don't.
You
Like they're
don't.
all you don't need to do a hard drug in order to open your mind.
And that's what I forgot to say in my section. Like these new age astrologers, I'm gonna say this right now, y'all. You do not have to be no hippie, wook, whatever y'all call it, festivals in order to do this type of stuff. Like you don't have to do shrooms or none of that. Like, no, dude. This is not a trend either. Like we do this shit for real. Like I hate that people pick this up a lot during like COVID or whatever, but without actually tapping in. They seen other people do it and then all of a sudden they picked up crystals and shit. I'm like, come on, y'all. And granted, there's some people that are really tapping in, but the people that I see now, they dropped it. I'm like, oh, so what happened 4 years ago? You're not doing it no more? Oh, because you made money from it and you dipped. Nah, that's what I don't respect, you know.
Yeah, I think it's intention. I think that if you see someone doing it and it piques your curiosity and interest, and you find yourself diving into it, and then eventually you give it up, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you're using it to stroke your ego or to pretend to be someone you're not in order to impress other people or to make money, then, just know that you get what you think about and what goes around comes around. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So just be aware of what you put out is what you get back, whether you like it or not, kind of thing. So
Mm,
I don't think there's anything wrong with people who want to explore tarot and astrology or learn, but it's asking yourself, why do you want
mm.
to? Are you doing it because you feel passionate about it or excited or curious and it's just something you want to know? And maybe, you want to understand more about yourself, or are you using it because you want to have a one up on other people or know more than they do, or manipulate people because this thing about them that they don't know? If it's anything like that, just know that that's not source led, and
At all.
you're not going to help anybody. You're only going to detriment yourself. that's giving, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
facts.
just know that you're going to feel that way for a very long time if you don't become aware of the deeper trauma or wound, so to speak, that's causing that. It's good to, I don't think people need to, and this is shadow work and inner child healing too. Like, I think that people think they have to like think and meditate really hard on when they were 6 years old and figure out what happened in their life and why they're like this and like no you don't. I think it's just important to take like a, and I've done this before, like a belief inventory, and just not be your thoughts but be the one observing your thoughts, because that's truly who you are. You're just the awareness of your experience. So if you can sit in your little seat in your head and be like, oh, like Banks just said something to me, I just reacted, why did I react like that? And be like, am I okay? Is something going on? That's felt very intense. Like I was kind of aggressive with him. Like, am I good? Like, where's that coming from? And you'll see that you'll have answers for yourself, because I feel like when I've done that, it will be like, well, the thing he said triggered this feeling that I had that like I'm alone. And you're like, girl, you're not alone. Like, you're good. You don't need anybody. Like this is just meant to be fun, like, and you'll see that. And in your interactions with people, it's usually that there's a part of you that's asking for healing and attention. But if you don't have the awareness to love yourself in that way to grow, you're going to stay projecting on other
Hmm.
people and ruining relationships. And then you're really going to be alone, which was your deepest fear.
Hmm.
Tea. Tea.
Facts.
So I think that, and keep in mind that just because Banks and I feel that these are the misinterpretations and misconceptions around tarot and astrology, these are also our own opinions. Because if you ask any other astrologer or tarot reader based on how long they've been doing it, they might agree to disagree. But I think that we can speak from our own experience and perspective of what we've gone through and what's helped us feel better about what we do and what we've seen that we do that helps other people, more importantly. Because really, you can't be doing things like what we're doing, where it's so personal and deep, and not be doing it with the intention of loving other people and ourselves.
Hmm.
It wouldn't last, and we wouldn't succeed in it if it wasn't divinely led to
Hmm.
to some degree. So I think that he and I can speak to this with a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not certainty,
Discernment.
but like expertise, maybe a little bit, because I think that you and I have been doing this for a good amount of time, and we've had very positive experiences where we've seen a lot of things, and we've seen what's worked for us and what hasn't worked for us, and the experiences we've had with other people, which more often than not have been transformational for both people involved,
Facts.
and loving in nature and its exchange, it being joyful and fun, which is what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be this like something's wrong with you and I got to tell you about yourself. It's not
Yeah,
that.
then at that point, I don't even want the reading no more.
No,
Like, this ain't a
nothing.
judgment game, you know?
No. Go watch the Judgment Call and the Cosmic Call Out podcast. That's
It's on YouTube, y'all.
yeah, really. But yeah, I feel like overall that's kind of my take on the misconceptions around tarot and what I wanted to clear up from my perspective. And we hope that everyone enjoyed this episode. I know it's a little lengthy, but at least we went in depth, and most of our episodes are going to kind of go into this kind of thing. So share it with your peeps.
Yeah, for sure. Share it to everybody.
But yeah, I think that's really it for us. Be sure to give us a like and a follow. We're going to start posting clips on TikTok, and Banks and I have been doing some funny little memes lately. So follow our Instagram. Stay tuned for those because we be
And on Facebook.
unhinged.
We're on Facebook
Yes,
too.
yes, like us on Facebook too. I'm a TikTok girly, so like that's where my head's at most of the time. It's so
Mhm.
chaotic and raw on there. I just love that stuff. And but I think that we're not neglecting our audiences across all the other platforms. We love everyone no matter how we're showing up for you and how you choose to see us. But we
Okay,
appreciate,
hold on now.
yeah, we
That's a
appreciate,
little snazzy right there. I like that.
We appreciate support in any avenue. So thank you all so much for being a part of our ethers, you
Yeah,
know?
real
Flo-
spill. Thank you guys.
Floating around up here in the ethers. We like it up here. It's hot.
Facts.